Keep a human in the loop. Check everything AI produces. How many times have we heard advice like this? I've probably said it myself, and it's coming from a good place. Directionally, it's strong advice, but as an actual instruction, as a recipe for how we work with AI, it's bad advice, and I think we should ignore it. So the problem is actually pretty straightforward. If you think about, let's say AI makes you 10 times more efficient at producing work. So that means you have at least 10 times as much stuff to review by hand. They actually tested this. A group called METR had two groups of software engineers, one group using AI, one group not, and they had complex programming tasks they were assigned to. The group that was using AI actually turned out to be 19% slower than the group not using AI. And yet, the AI group thought they were 20% faster or more efficient. Now, what actually happened was the time kind of silently crept into code review. So they were really fast at generating the code, but then these engineers were spending way more time reviewing code that they had never written, that they didn't fully understand. So it took them a lot longer, and they ended up being slower than the team not using AI. There's another problem with the check everything advice, which is that after a while, you'll go numb. I experienced this when I started using Claude Code to work on Grantable. At first, I was new and I was kind of nervous, so I had it on the most cautious setting. So it was checking with me before taking every single action. And after hundreds of checks, I stopped reading as carefully. I was just clicking accept. And then finally, I turned off permissions altogether, which is what everybody using Claude Code ended up doing. It's kind of like the terms of service problem. Whenever we sign up for something online, we click accept to the terms of service because there's just so many pages to read and we don't have time. And even if we try reading it a few times, we're not sure what to do with the information anyway. Same thing happens here if you just go into hypervigilance and you're not careful with where you're spending your time and focus. So if we're not supposed to check everything AI makes by hand, what are we supposed to do? I think there's a great model to follow by looking at what the leading AI labs are doing to check their AI generated code. Anthropic, for example, has reported that all of their engineers are now many times more efficient, generating many times more code than they were a year ago. So the bottleneck went from writing code to reviewing code. They didn't start reviewing more code by hand. What they realized was the same model that's good at writing code can probably become good at reviewing code. And that's exactly what happened. The way these labs are using AI to review AI is very specific. And one concept in particular I want to highlight for us: adversarial review. All that means is you use one set of AI to create something and a whole separate set to review it. There's a lot of research ongoing to understand why this phenomenon happens, but the results are already very clear. If you use separate AI, one focused on the goal of creation and one focused on the goal of review or critique, it's much better than if you use the same thread and just ask the same AI that did the generation to review itself. It tends to be a little bit biased in its favor. So you can see that the check everything AI makes advice is no longer sufficient for this moment. What's actually emerging is a pattern of work that's being pioneered by people all over the world learning how to work with AI. But this pattern starts with you. You have to understand the project, the work that you're trying to do very deeply, and then divide that work into phases. Then for each phase, you dial in one AI or a team of AIs focused on a specific goal. A research team, for example, when it's done, you step in and review the research. Then the creative phase. After that's done, step in and check what's been creative. After that, fire off the critique phase. Once those agents have attacked and poked full of holes, check the findings and add your insights again. That's where the human in the loop belongs, between these different phases. So narrow the focus of the AI and the AI teams Leave the judgment calls for you between the phases. A much more nuanced recommendation is emerging than simply check everything. So, if you want to know more about this kind of a system and how we have to move beyond the advice that we were getting 3 years ago, check out the blog post that I'm linking today. I created a 4-page downloadable guide as well to help you walk through building your own system. A lot more of these coming in the weeks to come. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll catch you soon.